We're building a budget backyard greenhouse for my neighbor and friend, Story Walters, so she can continue to enjoy her gardening through the colder days of winter. Al and I are working from a design I perfected 30 years ago to build and sell these things when my remodeling business was a little slow. We've nailed down the layout and started making our cuts for the template wall. Now it's time to start piecing it all together.
That's 45, that's that goes to that. So if that goes there, then...
These two come together.
Well, pretty good, huh? All right, so there's really...
So I need to just mirror this on this side.
Right.
Basically all the cuts.
Right, the only thing would be whether or not we're still... I don't see where anything would throw it off side to side, even though it has. Let's see, maybe that goes...
We're not square down there. I mean, it's all got to come this way a little bit, I think.
There, okay, all right. Okay, good. All right, we'll go ahead and do that cut. One more of those,
okay.
Same angle, one more of those, and we might be nailing then.
All right.
So while Alan makes the final cuts, I get the nail gun ready so this thing can start going together. But the first piece comes together fairly quickly.
Well, just almost exactly all we'll need to do. We got a 32-inch window, just like the width of the door. We'll have one 2x2 going down there for the bottom of the window. And then that's it. We can put this together, put another one together, and we can start assembling it down there.
With all the angles and lengths figured out, the other end goes together very quickly, even with the addition of that extra piece for the bottom of the window. Now we move to the location where the greenhouse will sit and begin filling in the framing between these two end walls. By connecting the two ends with 8-foot 2x2s, we're establishing the final footprint of the structure, but it's a little tricky because the whole thing is very fragile at this point.
This is actually the trickiest part of the whole thing, because you just feel like it's all gonna fall over.
Right.
But it won't. Not with you there.
A total of 5 boards join the two ends before we can begin adding the vertical supports in the middle.
Now, Alan and I will be putting the fiberglass on the ends first, squaring things up. We'll trim it all out and then start with the main part of it, starting at the top and wrapping it around. It really should only take about an hour and a half or so to put all the fiberglass on.
The panels are secured to the frame with self-tapping roofing screws. These things have a little rubber washer beneath the head so that they seal the hole they go through once they're tightened. As you go up the wall, each panel overlaps the one before it by a couple of rows, and the whole greenhouse gets sturdier with each one. We're overlapping the ends of the wall so we can cut them all flush once each wall is complete. A regular saw blade would make a mess of this stuff, so Alan is using an abrasive blade which basically burns through the panels. It also makes some incredibly fine dust, which makes the particle mask a must if you try this project yourself. We're covering the two ends first because the roof and sides have to overlap them. The roof starts with these foam gaskets, which help seal off the gaps caused by the corrugations in the panel. Lining up the first roof panel with equal margins on each side of the ridge and the proper overhang on each end takes a little time, but it's important so all of the other pieces will follow suit. Once the first panel is in, the process speeds back up again, one panel after another working down the roof onto the sides. Before we cover the sides completely, I'm cutting out the openings for the window and door and figuring out a template for the shelf braces that'll mount on the walls inside. The scrap pieces of 2x2 left over from the framing are ideal for this stuff. We're mounting these braces to each side support with 3-inch long screws so that the horizontal leg is level. Another 8-foot 2x2 connects the supports across the front before we mount the 3 1x4s that form the shelf. The gaps between the boards are actually a benefit because they'll let water drain off the shelf when you water the plants. Finally, we're putting on the last panel before we begin installing the window. For this chore, you'll need similar screws to the ones we used on the fiberglass panels, just a little longer. To keep weeds from popping up inside, I'm spreading a layer of plastic inside the greenhouse before we spread the gravel that will form the floor. It's easier to get your wheelbarrow in if you do this before you hang the door.
Is that about one of the heaviest storm doors you've ever seen? Gee whiz.
I had a different one in mind when you
Nice
said we
and
could do
insulated there, so.
Oh, okay, let's see. Get the
You want to do it
outside
that way,
flange.
or just close it off?
Close it
just-
first?
yeah,
I thought you
close it and hold it over to that side.
All right.
It's important that the door is plumb or perfectly vertical before it's attached so that it'll operate properly.